What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast, a much more normal episode. Apologies for the last one. Hand up, I just screwed up the audio so badly. I thought the microphone was connected. It wasn't never connected at once. I plugged it into the headphone jack instead of the microphone jack. Why they have both of them, I don't know. It's confusing, but on me, audio sounded terrible. Should sound a lot better today. We got to talk about the Pirates series. There was a lot going on here. It's building into more and more storylines as we go into the All-Star break. Got to talk about the All-Star game snubs as well with Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Lindor, along with then Pete Alonso being the choice, which was also very confusing. We'll get into everything going on in Mets world as we always do here on the Mets'd podcast. Make sure you follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd podcast YouTube channel if you want to see the YouTube version of this, along with exclusive YouTube content. We just recorded a Mets quiz over there. If you guys want to see that, it's live on the channel. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. Of course, if you drop us a review on Apple, we'll give you a shout out at the end of the episode. And I think that's all the plugging I got to do. James, haven't seen you in a minute. Saw you on 4th of July. We were quite intoxicated. How you feeling now? What's going on? How was your weekend?
It was great. Love 4th of July weekend. One of the truly beautiful American things. We had a nice shindig at my parents' house on Thursday. Hung out with a lot of friends, saw a lot of family this weekend. Saw so many different cousins from all my sides of the family. It was great. Had so much good food. My parents just have so much good food. We ate good on 4th of July as well. Burgers.
Dude, those burgers were phenomenal. Like, those were really some great burgers.
Yeah, I grilled them well. We had that. Oh, you didn't have cheese. We had the good cheese on them. I brought out the Pat LaFree, the steak sauce. I think they were Pat LaFree, the burgers, or Peter Luger's burgers, whatever they were. I don't know. But it was a nice ensemble, nice weekend. And then just like another strange Mets thing. The whole road trip, I think, was weird in of itself because going in, I think that a lot of us Mets fans put qualifiers on these things. Like, we have to go over 500 in this road trip. Like, we got to go. That will make us all feel good. And then, like, to drop the game on Monday the way they did, to go to 4-4 in the road trip against two teams that you want to feel like you're better than, but in reality, you just might not be at the end of the day. Like that, I'm not saying that's like the harsh realization that happened, but it's just you're not that much different than them, I think is where it is going to be. And it felt like at the beginning you may have been.
If you could combine the Pirates pitching and the Mets offense, this team wins 65. They're in first place. Like, they're one of the best teams in baseball. It would be incredible what you could do if you could put Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, Jared Jones, those guys as the Mets pitching staff with that bullpen of no names that are doing really good. And the Mets line, because the Pirates lineup, I know they put up some runs in the first game of the series, but like, relatively speaking, it's a pretty horrendous lineup. Like, there is not a lot there, which makes it even worse that they scored all those runs. But if we're going to start with any game, start probably with Monday, because that's the hot one. That's the one that I think a lot of people are frustrated with, specifically because Christian Scott got pulled relatively early in this game. Now, we do know after the game, Carlos Mendoza said that they had Scott on a 75 pitch limit because of the fact that he was on 4 days rest for the first time as a major leaguer. I don't know if he's done that in the minors or not, because I know their schedule is a little bit different, but in the majors, he's not yet pitched on what is regular rest or 4 days rest. So they limited him. But that also is what killed us. And
fully,
I think in a couple weeks, we'll be okay with the decision because relatively speaking, at the end of the day, you don't want to do anything to Christian Scott that would hurt his arm or be stupid over one game in July against the Pirates. But at the same time, how many more pitches would he have realistically had to have thrown to get out of that inning? Probably not many. He was really cruising in this game.
The question is also just in that exact moment, just to paint it for guys if you're not watching it. He was at 77 pitches with 2 outs in the 5th inning. The Pirates had 2 hits the entire game, and Scott had retired, I think at this point, like 7 in a row after the O'Neill Cruz home run 2 innings before.
He sandwiched 9 in a row.
Yeah.
O'Neill Cruz and whatever happened, and then I think 6 or 7 in a row after that.
I think it was a base hit by, I don't know if it was Reynolds. Was it Reynolds? I don't know. It was a 2-run home run for O'Neill Cruz with someone on base. And then everyone got out after that until he left the game. So he's only allowed 2 base runners all game. He was at 77 pitches, 2 above the 75 pitch limit, and there were 2 outs in the 5th inning. And I don't know. It's just to me, if you have a lights out bullpen, you have someone I trust to go to in that situation to get out the 2 best hitters in the Pirates lineup. Okay, or you could say Brian Reynolds is a switch hitter. You're not, and you don't have a lefty to bring in anyway, so you're not getting a platoon change or thing there. I know they brought in Eric Orza, we're going to talk about in a second, and he is a changeup guy, so that's going to be better against a left-handed batter, and Scott does struggle a bit against left-handed batters, but he seemed to have handled Reynolds in this game, so even with 2 pitches over the limit, 1 out to go in the 6th inning, 2 pitches over the limit, I get that. You give him that batter, And if it gets to O'Neal Cruz, who already took him deep, who's had an amazing series, then he's out. Then it's okay. But the fact that Orza came in, he had the long at bat to walk Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz got the hit, and then everything just kind of spiraled from there. It felt so bizarre, also considering that. I know it was on different days of rest. The last game Christian Scott pitched against the Nationals last week, you lost the game because you made the exact opposite decision.
Yes.
You pushed him and you pushed him and you pushed him and you left him in against a lefty for the third time. And then that lefty, Luis Garcia, took him over the wall and that blew the whole outing. Where this time you're like, okay, he has a third pitch limit. He isn't as good against lefties as righties, not even close. So you don't want this lefty to see him for a third time. You don't want either lefty to see him for a third time. You take him out, and now you've made two different decisions on Christian Scott, and more or less, it cost you both of his last games.
And the decision making, I'll say this outside the pitch count thing, I can rationalize too, because it seemed like their plan was Christian Scott to Adrian Hauser. Adrian Hauser finishes the game. Like that seems like what they wanted, start to finish, start it. And they realized, oh crap, we need to get one more out. Let's get Eric Orza and easy, get one out, get out of the inning. But then you realize it's the heart of the order. And this is a guy who's making his major league debut in a tie ball game for a team that you're competing for a playoff spot with. Like this wasn't just an easy one out scenario. This wasn't, hey, get out
Jared
Connor
Triolo.
Joe. Yeah, Jared Triolo, whoever the fuck they throw out there in their 7th, 8th, 9 hole, like during the game. This was Brian Reynolds, all-star. He's been scalding hot. He worked a tough walk, like you said. He kind of got squeezed by the umpire a little bit too, and the umpire sucked all game. But that's no excuses. Hands up, play better, score more runs. It was just weird, especially because they had nobody else in the bullpen. Like if you told me they went with, like if they went Drew Smith here if he were healthy, or if they went with like one of their bigger guys here. Yeah, Sean Reed-Foley, or not Adam Ottavino, not him. I won't say that. Or Jake Diekman, I won't say that either. But if they went with one of their like front line guys that they've been expecting, I would have been more okay with it. Daniel Nunez or Reed Garrett, because they have that experience, they have that opportunity, they've shown it before. To put Orza in that situation felt kind of unfair. It felt a little nearsighted almost.
It felt truly unfair to him because, again, just conceptually think about it for a second. You're bringing up a pitcher who's a 25-year-old minor leaguer who doesn't throw especially hard, doesn't have an especially good breaking ball, and he's a change-up, middling fastball guy. Okay, fine. And you're saying the first thing you have to do in your career is get out the best two players in the other team, who both lefties when you're a righty. I know, again, he probably will be better against lefties and righties because that changeup is an out pitch. But this team seemed completely ready to face that changeup. It seemed like that was very much a scouting report. I think he threw 7 in a row, and Brian Reynolds swung at maybe one of them and fouled it off in that long at bat. So it was a situation where it didn't really make sense. And that comes back to the decision of taking Scott out of the game because in that one moment, that one at bat, he's only 2 pitches over his limit. I don't want to push him. I don't want to stress him out. I don't want to add injury risk to him. And I want to make sure his workload's managed and everything's okay so we can have him pitch for months and months and months the rest of the season. Because if we are going to go to the playoffs, Christian Scott will likely be a big part of that. But to get one more guy out in this game, that I know you said it was just a game in July, it was a relatively important game because the Pirates are probably the team that, if I was a betting man, I would say they might be favored to take that last while. I mean, now the Jared Jones injury does change that equation. But Skeens, oh, you have that?
I've got some info on the Pirates betting odds right now are the 3rd lowest in all of the National League. The only teams that have worse odds than them to make the playoffs and then win the National League, Marlins and Rockies. Sorry, Mets fans, this is anti-Met here. I'm all over that. I am all over the Pirates on my bets to make the playoffs. And then to win the National League, which, again, crazy, but those 3 pitchers, you guys saw 2 of the 3. Mitch Keller, diced us the fuck up again.
He's good. He's quite good.
And Paul Skeens is maybe the best pitcher in baseball. If they can get out a run with healthy guys and maybe grab a bat or 2 at the deadline, this is a team you do not want to face at all.
No, I think they are actually over 500 since Skeens was called up, which is pretty remarkable. And the fact that, again, this bottom of the National League wildcard race is still not exciting. I know the Cardinals are still hot. I don't believe in them for a second. They just keep winning games with that bullpen. Like if Arenado and Goldschmidt aren't hitting and the rotation still isn't very good, I don't know. And the Padres just seem like at any moment things could not go well. I still think they're probably the second. I kind of have them as the playoff team here. The Diamondbacks are hot now. Then the Mets, Giants, Pirates, Reds, and then the Cubs. All of those teams are within like 4 games.
Giants are being carried on the back of Elliot Ramos right now. Like at some point, he's not going to be Barry Bonds. Like,
well, Snell's coming back this week. I think all of these teams have compelling case, lumping in the Cardinals with us and pushing the Padres ahead for the 3rd wild card. But I don't think the Pirates are far out of it in any sense. But again, this is a game that you could look back on in September and be like, "Fuck! If Christian Scott gets one more batter out, everything is different, and we might still lose, but not like that."
It's a 2-game swing too. Taking 3 of 4
Yeah,
versus 2 of
totally.
2 is a 2-game swing, and that's huge. Also, what the fuck is with the scheduling? The Mets play 4 4-game series in the month of July. Nationals, Pirates. I think we sprinkle in a Marlins series, and there's one more I don't remember off the top of my head just because it's been a minute that I've looked at the schedule. But we were talking about this on 4th of July. I'm like, how is it possible we're playing 4 4-game series in 1 month? I've never seen that.
I mean, don't cue me up to talk shit about the schedule.
Of course,
Don't
we'll get
give me
sidetracked.
don't give me the opportunity for that. But the other 4-game series I'm loading right now, it's Marlins right after the break, and then to end the month, it's Braves at home.
Yeah, sick. Awesome, dude. Love that.
And that's a back-to-back Yankees Braves, and then actually Twins come to town. That's
a
some
fun
games
one.
to go to. There's some good ones there. But it's and especially when you have to go through these games on Saturday and Sunday, where Edwin Diaz pitches both days, Daniel Nunez pitches both days, Reed Garrett pitches both days. On a Saturday, Jose Budo gives you a inning in 2/3, and then Adam Ottavino, who again his roster spot's becoming more and more tenuous, doesn't pitch the entire series.
No.
So that becomes a frustrating thing now, where you have some guys in this bullpen who you just feel like you can't use, and you keep riding the other guys hard, and you get a situation like this where you have to call up Eric Orzo again. I don't think this derails like anything. He could be a successful reliever in his career, but just the first thing you're doing, and like, I felt so bad because they kept showing his grandma in the stands, and she
might not be
so
his grandma.
Mom.
It could be his mom. Yeah.
Oh, okay. They showed a family matriarch in the stands.
Yes, there you go.
And Gary called her grandma. That's why I just went with that. But showed a family matriarch in the stands, and she was so nervous.
Oh, so nervous. Of course, yeah.
And I was just like, damn, this sucks. This inning got so out of hand so quickly. And it's just not, And I think a lot of it also does come back to Christian Scott not being fully comfortable yet against lefties. At least it doesn't seem like it. Like, it's just, it's not there. This game against the righties, he only threw his fastball and a sweeper, and people didn't even have a clue. He was shutting them down. This was such a good start by Christian Scott, where the righties fastball sweeper wiping guys out, and then he's still trying to throw that splitter, and it doesn't really have the bite, and he can't really command it. And then also the gyro slider command isn't super there. Nice conversations too between Gary and Jerry Blevins today, like kind of going pitching back
Jerry's
and forth.
Awesome.
Jerry's so good in the call. It's really hard for someone to step in this Mets booth and be good because of how good we have it every other day. Jerry's fantastic. If there is going to be a future without the 3 guys in the booth, I would like Jerry Blevins to be a part of it.
I agree. I think he's really good at it.
Wholeheartedly. But then Christian Scott, again, without that splitter really being there, without that gyro slider really having the bite and really having good command, he did a lot better with the fastball command. I thought he did really good owning the edges against lefties, and Jerry Blevins called that out. And he liked one of my tweets last week talking about that, so I think I might have affected something Jerry Blevins said on the broadcast today. So I'll take that one. I was really happy about that watching the game today. But even with all that, even with him not being great against lefties, it's still so fucking weird to bring in a right-handed reliever for his first career appearance against the best 2 hitters on the other team in a tie game.
Yeah, and I mean, what the hell just happened?
I just waved my hands and knocked over my computer.
Oh, okay, nice, good
catch though.
Good catch. You caught it. Wow,
yeah,
that was a good catch. All right, but where was I going? Oh, the real problem here though is the bullpen's a catastrophe.
Disaster.
Like it's we got 3 months of like we were grinding our teeth and sneaking by with walking every single person and just kind of not really having the greatest stuff. The Edwin Diaz thing imploded it. Like the fact that they had to make up for him, be like leaving an empty roster spot has now all culminated into the fact that these guys are just not very good anymore. Like it's just, and that's kind of mean, but like kind of outside of Daniel Nunez and I guess Edwin Diaz as well. Like Reed Garrett's kind of getting exposed right now, and losing Drew Smith hurt. I know a lot of Mets fans hate Drew Smith, but like you probably wish Drew Smith was in this bullpen right now for sure. I know a lot like Sean Reed Foley being hurt has low-key really hurt this team a lot. He was so good out of the bullpen for us. And losing Brooks Raley for the year. Like, there's three legitimate arms that this bullpen was supposed to have that we don't. And now we're trying to put the pieces back together. And Daniel Nunez has been great, and Reed Garrett was a great stopgap. But I don't really know if it gets any better at any point. And I don't know how or if they're even willing to make it get better besides just trying more guys they have in the minors.
I just can't even imagine. Like, if you told one of us on March 15th that it'd be the 4th of July weekend, and the only reliever you truly trust in the Mets bullpen is Daniel Nunez, like you would tell someone to fuck off. I don't know. He was not already. I think we mentioned him like one time briefly in a bullpen episode in January. Like Daniel Nunez, exciting arm, throws 97 with a slider. Maybe we'll see him this year. And that's it. Now he is the guy, and he even was shaky on Sunday, but then he came out when Diaz wound up blowing the safe, put the guys on base, whatever. It's just. Even that Edwin has come back, it's not like a Band-Aid to paper over it because we still just have to play a man down for 10 games. And again, I know you shouldn't cheat, but that is such a fucking harsh penalty.
This kills the team.
it's a the other. I keep saying this. I don't remember if it says on Worthy's show or on our show last time, but the other team has a power play from you for every game. You lose a
Oh, of
guy in your
course.
roster. That's
Yeah.
insane. Baseball is a game where you need everyone to play, every single person. Hockey, the power plays last 2 minutes, and those are still the most advantageous plays in sports. This was a week and a half. You're missing a reliever, and you just feel it so hard. You can even feel it from him coming back kind of cold. Like it's
Yeah.
just the first outing was in the game with a decent lead on Saturday was good, but he comes back in on Sunday and the feel was gone again. He was shaky, he had no command. I know
His
that.
arm was slow. He was rushing. He was moving too fast and his arm was lagging behind, which is why everything was high and outside.
And also that slide that it wasn't hit hard, but the hit that tied the game was just it just sat in the middle of the plate.
Yep.
And Reed Garrett's also discombobulated. I think he is getting exposed a little bit, but I still think there's a successful reliever inside of him, and he is going crazy right now with the approach.
Yes.
He's so discombobulated. I don't think that he has a semblance of what to throw, when, why, or how. He's really changed everything. I have two great graphics on Savant. I love to use their pitch pie charts to show how often they're in each count and what pitch they're throwing in every one of their counts. It's really good. He's throwing ball one slightly more often than he was between April and May compared to June and July. Once he gets into the at bat, he's much more likely to always throw that splitter now when there are two strikes. Where the first time he was likely to throw, but he was mixing in a good amount of sweepers, and he was doing the thing I told you guys a lot, where he was pitching backwards, or he would sneak the fastball by you guys with two strikes. And it's still 96, so it still wound up being a good pitch. And then it's just he once he falls behind now, it's just cutter after cutter after cutter, which I think is fine. He's allowing balls to be put in play, but he's not really as good at putting that pitch in the zone as he is with the fastballs. But the cutter is more effective than the fastballs, and then the splitter, while it's still good by month, its whiff rate has gone from 70% to 65% to now just like 55%, which is still great for
Is
a
it
pitch.
still that
whiff
high?
rate. Yes, it is. Yes,
Wow.
just throwing
Okay.
it in the zone. It's being swung at less often is the problem.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which is, I think hitters are much more aware of it now, slinking up on them less. But if you still swing at it, you're unlikely to hit it. But it's just that's still a big difference. Almost 3/4 of the time, people were swinging through that pitch before. Now it's half the time. That's significant, despite it still being good. Significant difference. Which this is what I think we were both beckoning to people when the Reed Garrett thing was happening in April, where it's like, I think he's probably a good reliever. He's not the best reliever in baseball,
No.
and it's just like he's being so weird right now. It's hard to track, and now it's swung back, and still it's just fucking weird. But like, if he's the fourth best reliever in your bullpen, you're like,
Oh,
feel
you're
good.
awesome. Yeah.
And right now, he's still the third best reliever in the bullpen. That's still okay. But the fact they're playing all these games day after day, Edwin Diaz just came back. These guys are all working back-to-back games. Adam Ottavino can't really be used. Like you always have a rotating Ty Adcock, Tyler J, Eric Orza. You don't really want to bring in either. So now you're down another guy in the bullpen. You can't exist like this forever.
And Hauser's your long guy, so it's like,
and Budo's half a long guy too. So it's a weird mix.
I know how we fix this bullpen, James. I know how we fix it. Something you've been saying for years.
It's a Ty
Big drip, man. This is the guy. I think this is the moment. Like, it's look at what his brother's doing. His brother's one of the best relievers in all of baseball. Snubbed from the All-Star game. Fucking bullshit. Should have made the All-Star team. It's nonsense that he did not. But I'm thinking Ty Lore is due for the same thing, because we love that he throws those different pitches. He's going to be able to probably dial it up to 97, 98 out of the bullpen. Easy. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, shit. We got our 8th inning guy to lead us to Edwin Diaz, or we got a guy that can even give us 2 innings out of the bullpen, which we so desperately need. That's what's made Dedniel Nunez even better, and that's what made Reed Garrett even better, was that we could get multiple innings out of these guys. Help us in these days when we have our B team bullpen, our C team bullpen. That's kind of where guys like Diekman and Ottavino lay flat a little bit. They can't get through even one inning right now.
Didn't even mention Diekman. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, he's been...
Jake Diekman, supporter of the Mets'd Up Instagram accounts. We won't chastise him too much, but oh my God, it's been so bad. It's been so fucking bad.
It's the Jake Diekman experience. He does this every year. He goes through a stretch where he is unpitchable because he does walk 20% of the guys he faces, and then all of a sudden they just get a couple hits here and there. Like, he gets to that spot every single year. It's just, can we push through it? He's also not going anywhere. Name another lefty we have. Where are you going to get a lefty? Like,
nope.
I thought maybe we would be in a spot where we talk about trading Jake Diekman, but I think he's met till the end of the year.
The whip is tricked up to 1.5 this season.
So
he has one of the highest walk rates for any reliever in baseball at 18%. It's very bad.
Incredibly high. That's incredibly high. That being said, the starting pitching's been pretty good. I mean, like, that's the other weird part. Like, you got a great start out of Sean Manaea, who I think his ERA is like sub 1.5 with Francisco Alvarez catching him, which is so funny how much these guys love throwing to Alvarez.
And it's also 3-4 in the season, which is lowest for a Mets starter.
Yep. Severino, I know, he wasn't sharp. He's so weird. What's going on with him? Like, he didn't pitch bad, but he didn't pitch well, but he also was bad. We got to trade him.
I know. You guys remember when Severino was untradeable a week and a half ago, 2 weeks
We
ago?
never
Remember
said that. We never said that.
No, I'm just talking to people in the world
Oh,
because a lot
yeah.
of people thought that. I remember tweeting about it. I talked about it on Worthy Stream. People were like, "No way, we can't get rid of him." It's just that's it. I have some stuff from Severino that makes me think that there's just something weird with him. I don't know. It seems like that. I've been talking a lot about how much he's throwing his fastball and his sinker this year. His sinker has gone up to be, I think, his most used pitch after barely throwing his entire career. And I think the sinker actually has been an incredibly meaningful addition to him. I think it's actually reinvented his entire career, truthfully. The fact that he can now go off those two fastballs, kind of mix them to righties and lefties, pitch to more contact, get through these outings very efficiently. It's great, but it can't be everything. So this is Luis Severino's last 6 starts. 72% fastball and sinker, 81% fastball and sinker, 67% fastball and sinker. But that 67%, that was the Cubs game where he had the 10 strikeouts.
Where he was amazing.
That game he threw 18% sweepers. That's the only game in the last month and a half where he's thrown more than 8% sweepers in a single start. And that was the one game he did that, and he struck out 10 guys and had the best start of the season. And then past that, 65%, 59%, 76%. And early in the year was hanging out between 45 and 60%, but this has been an insane uptick. And it just shows me there's a lack of feel for the slider, there's a lack of feel for the sweeper, lack of feel for the color that was coming on that seemed exciting to me, and the changeup has been totally turfed after that amazing video of him throwing the drive line in the winter.
Do you think that the fastball usage, though, could have been because he's trying to get quicker outs and pound the zone more because the bullpen was so weak? So he's like, I got to be in the zone more. I have to get guys to go after my pitches because I just can't come out of the game after 5. I can't come after 6, which I guess also the argument too is, well, you went 7 and struck out 10 against the Cubs, so you have no problem.
Yeah, and if you just do that, you could probably just be better. Like maybe that's a cue, but maybe there's just it has to be a feel thing because I think that it's probably obvious internally, it's obvious externally that when he throws those off-speed pitches, those breaking balls more, he's more effective. And you are right looking at these. The last 2 starts were his highest combined percentage of fastball and sinkers of the year during the Diaz suspension, 81%, 72%. But it's just untenable. Even to put, if you put 60, like 2/3 of your pitches, I think you can still be successful with good breaking balls on top of it. He's shown that, especially because he's still throwing 95, 96, 97.
Yes.
And those pitches are still obviously effective. Like it's worked overall, but it's just, it's this lack of getting to the next gear, which is annoying. And then you get into a situation like Friday night where like you're pitch to contact, but like sometimes that contact's not going to be good. Like sometimes you're going to have bad batted ball luck. Sometimes the ball's going to go out of the park. Like if you do this every time, you're not always going to be successful. Like you're now just being Lance Lynn. Which like I don't want Lance Lynn.
No,
we technically did pay for Lance Lynn because that's all the contract he's on. But like that's not the pitcher we want. We've seen Severino reach higher heights than that. We know there's ceiling on there. We know. Think about when he came up. We don't want everyone to compare this Severino to 2019 Severino, but that slider was fucking filthy.
Disgusting.
That's what made him the guy he is. I know he's lost a lot of velocity on that slider specifically, and it seems like throwing that harder might have been something that kept injuring him, along with kept going for that big backspin, vertical breaking fastball, and that's why he's opted for more sinkers here. But there just has to be another adjustment here because the start like he had on Friday, which was totally fine for most of the time, and Diekman did give up the grand slam to add 3 more runs to his ledger, but it was still just it's you got to adjust back at some point. I think he can. I think it's a good chance he does, but it's just it's the difference between Lance Lynn and like a different pitcher. Right now he's more Lance Lynn.
Yeah, I don't like hearing that. I don't like hearing that one bit.
That's what he does. Those are the guys who throw these hardcore fastball. Like no one else coming to mind right now, but like that's the number one pitcher I think of who's like, I throw a fastball every pitch, try and hit it.
Yeah, no, it's not a recipe for success. Hopefully they can make some changes here before they eventually get rid of him because he's gone. He's gone, Mets fans.
Like why not? I mean, I think him or Manai is going to be gone at least.
At least one of them, yeah.
So I think if one of them's going to be gone, I think you probably just get a little more of Severino because he throws harder. So
does also help too that David Peterson had another completely okay start, which is
Peterson.
That's him. That's him. This is him. This is David Peterson, and I'm just going to accept it. And I'm going to say, good job. Way to get it done.
I think I don't want to be mean with any of our nicknames. We haven't done a nickname really this year. We've lost our vigor for the nicknames. David Peterson's nickname could very easily be Mr. 4 2/3. It's a little mean, but it's like that's just kind of who he is. He's completely eternal. Like, yeah, he looked good. Like he was mixing the fastballs and the sinkers and the sliders, some changeups. It's just like, and then he runs into a jam in the 5th inning, he's out of the game. It's just like, how the fuck does this happen every time?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know.
like
Every
literally,
time.
we've talked about David Peter at such nauseum that I'm pretty tired of talking about him. And we're not going to break him down because you're
Nah,
going to
it's
hear the
just
same
that's
thing
what
you've
it
heard
is.
from us for 3 years now. Nothing is changing. David Peterson is eternal. Shout out Luis Torrens, the second best catcher in the city of New York. That tweet got people fucking riled up when I quote tweeted the Luis Torrens hit, and I was like, can't believe we got him for the Yankees for free. He'd be the best catcher on that team. They're like,
By
oh,
far.
Austin Wells, Jose Trevino. Are you kidding me?
I think he might be the best Yankee catcher since Posada.
Wow. Russell Martin. You're disrespecting Russell Martin and Brian McCann.
Yeah, but when those guys got to that team, I guess Russell Martin had a
No,
couple
they were
good
so
years for
good.
the
They were
Yankees.
so good.
McCann was not great with the Yankees. He was totally
Oh,
fine. He
I'm
was
gonna
objectively okay.
I'm gonna read you some of his numbers with the Yankees. I'm so confident I'm gonna bring out the numbers here with the
Yeah,
Yankees. Dude, he had 26 home runs, 90 RBIs one year with the Yankees,
what was the
23 and
OPS plus?
75. OPS plus was 105.
Okay, that's worse. Like what Luis Torrens is doing right
I
now,
mean,
with certainly worse defense.
fair. No, definitely was worse. Defense.
Okay,
But like, I don't know. He signed me up for 26 and 94 for my catcher on a mega loaded all-star team.
yeah, sure, fuck yeah. I mean, again, 94. That's team stats because those Yankee teams were jacked as fuck
True,
back
true.
then. But I don't know. Torrens is awesome, sir. Torrens is great.
Really,
He
I
really is.
can't wait to slot him in for that backup role for the next like 3 or 4 years because he's free,
Forever.
baby.
And also something cool this game, Budo, I think in the bullpen has steadied a little bit. The games he comes in, I have
Yes.
significantly more confidence. He threw more pitches in strike zone, and something you'll like from this outing, he can throw one changeup to a right-handed batter.
Love that. Love
It was
that.
all sliders to the righties. He mixed in the changeups and stuff to the lefties, which I thought was really cool. But sinker slider to righties was really nice. I like seeing Budo do that. It seems like he didn't get a strikeout, but he got a couple swings and misses, and it seems like he's learning how to be a relief pitcher, which might be the best place for him in the future, but also could still come in spot start. But nice that he's able to be a team player, come in here, yeah, and just be like, if we need help, I will help.
Yeah,
because that's what Jose Budo is.
Budo's he's a man of the people. Man of the people, man of the smart people. He's not just a brand. I don't know if you guys have seen on Instagram the Indian guy who screams about that. Honestly,
smart people.
I might contact him to do a Jose Budo.
No, Budo.
He's a man of the smart people.
I'm so down. Yeah, we should do that. That'd be actually really funny. I'm down for that. But
yeah, we got some Mets'd money. We could do that.
Yeah, we got to do something with it. But then we got to the Sunday game, and just shout out the non-All-Star brothers, Nimmo and Lindor. Who's clutcher than those two guys, huh? Who the fuck deserves an All-Star but not more than those two guys?
I mean, Luis Ariz probably, right? Or Jackson Merrill or
fucking loser.
Merrill,
I think we'll get to there. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I don't fucking. Ugh. But again, great game where Nimmo gets the big home run because he's just a fucking power hitter. Now I can't do shit about that. Not the home run, but it was double. I got the games confused with Monday, and then after we blow the game, a really shitty way to lose the lead with Edwin Diaz, that horrible, miserable 4-pitch walk. And
yeah, so bad.
And then the bleeder through the zone, a slider right straight down the middle against who the fuck was it? It was Nicky Gonzalez.
Nick Gonzalez was a real Met killer. It's official.
Yeah, he just had such an abysmal month of baseball. He hit like 200, and he just came this series against the Mets. He was like, "I'm gonna do whatever you need, coach."
He hit that Q shot down the first baseline today. It was like, oh my god.
Yeah, but then Lindor with the big hit to put the Mets up, and
he never gets a big hit.
Never gets big hits. Least clutch player in baseball. Great stat from Gary Apple after this game.
Ooh,
Francisco Lindor with that hit tied Ketel Marte with the most hits of any player in baseball this season in the 7th inning or later to either tie the game or put his team ahead.
Guy sucks.
Nice.
Terrible. Ugh.
Nice.
He's here for the next 8 years. Ugh, disgusting. I hate it.
Disaster.
Why would you want him to be your shortstop?
Oh god, fucking most underrated player in baseball. I'm happy now the rest of the world, besides the Pygmy Mets fans, are with us.
Oh, cool. I think everybody else in baseball knows how good he is. It's just this weird group of Mets fans that still hates the guy because his name's Francisco Lindor.
It's just Staten Island and Massapequa. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Shout out to Mike from Massapequa if you're listening,
and Joe from Staten Island. That's the one. And great start from Anaya in this game too. And he gave some great insight after the game. But 6 innings, 2 hits. Amazing. He gets a 6th inning now. He finally got past that thing. He doesn't give up hits. He throws 6 innings. It's awesome.
6 inning Sean.
And the 2 hits, one of them was erased because Jeff McNeil made a great play in left field and gunned out Joey Bart. I think the other one might have been a caught stealing. Something. I think.
Don't remember.
I don't remember. Whatever. Don't remember. But I was breaking this game down for Roto World. I looked at Minaya in this game. His sweeper was totally different. A lot more depth. And down a few miles an hour. So, by I say depth, that means it was dropping more. It had much more vertical drop than usual, while still having a lot of the same sweep. It always has tiny bit less, but same stuff. Why are you laughing?
I'm just laughing at like you explaining depth. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think like his sweeper all of a sudden like had an existential crisis and like thought about its life. Like,
I mean, you never know. What are you gonna do there? But he said after the game, he was like, yeah, the sweeper, but like kind of feels more like a curve sometimes. It had all that depth to this.
Hmm.
Now it feels like a curve. And then I think Gary or Blevins named after the game, like because we have slurve. It's a big thing in baseball. Swerve, sweeper
Ooh,
curve, because
swerve.
yeah, right.
I like that.
Because it was dropping more. But it was cool to hear him say that in his like press conference after the game. Be like, yeah, I had the sweeper. It was looking good today. It felt more like a curveball, and that's something that was big because the Pirates in this game did something amazing. They had 9 right-handed batters in the lineup.
Yeah.
So a pitch like a sweeper, that's definitely Manaya's best out pitch. He can't throw it that much against lefties. He tries to bury it on their feet sometimes. To adjust that pitch, get more on top of it, and have it be more of a drop pitch. Now it's a much better weapon against righties. And it got like a bunch of swings and misses. It's nice. It's good. And it plays well off that 2-seam, which has been a really amazing pitch for him. I don't know. Every start, I feel like I'm starting to like Sean Manaea a little bit more.
I also do love how he talks to the media after the game. He's very,
Yeah.
very open about like everything that's
So,
going on in his head. It's cool to just get that kind of insight, especially because like you just can't really talk to these players very often, and if you do, you can't really ask them like good questions. You have to ask like, where do you want to go get ice cream after the game? But like
yeah.
to hear him actually be able to talk baseball the way he does is really refreshing and stuff that we love to see over here on the Mets'd podcast for sure.
Yeah, and it'd be cool to talk baseball players, but also just we kind of glossed over the rally. We do have to give a lot of shine to the Mets batting order.
Oh yeah,
What they did against Aroldis Chapman that game on Sunday, especially
so
with
awesome.
the way the game went on Monday, it kind of saved the entire road trip. It really
Yeah.
did. And it's a shame that it couldn't happen to a better guy than Aroldis Chapman to have the most blown saves he has against any team in baseball against the Mets. This was his 5th blown save in his career against the Mets.
It's
The most he's
crazy.
had against any team. So again, like it's nice that the Mets can have these rallies against fucking pure dirtbags,
Yes.
especially because it's nice to win games. It's
Domestic
really
abuse.
nice to it's really nice to make horrible people lose games. So that's really
Yeah.
good. But Francisco Alvarez drew an 8-pitch walk when he
It
was
was-
down 1-2.
That was sex.
Harrison Bather, 7-pitch at bat, laces a single. And then fucking Jose Iglesias,
Love that guy.
8 pitches, multiple foul balls. And then Francisco Lindor dropped after the game that him and Chapman have known each other since they were kids playing baseball in Cuba. It's a similar age, which is crazy nugget
you
to drop there.
Catch when he walked Jose Iglesias, he like bat flipped the walk, screaming.
Yes.
He's like, "Let's fucking go!" I was like, "Dad, this guy's
Lindor was like,
bringing
yeah,
the heat."
he was getting one after Chapman. I think that the more I see Jose Iglesias, the more, 1, I fucking love him.
Love him.
And more, 2, I realize that maybe as someone who's like on the veteran minimum, some teams might not want in the clubhouse.
What do you mean?
I think there's a lot of flair that Jose Iglesias plays with, where you might not want the last guy in the roster to bring that kind of flair. They were telling a story. I think Keith was saying it that.
But you're happy he's on the Mets.
I fucking love him. I want him on the Mets the rest of the year by far. But I'm saying the reason because like he had a couple years ago where he couldn't catch on. He played a full season with the Rockies, hit like 280 and played like
Red Sox. He bumped around with them for a little bit.
He
Tigers.
keeps bouncing around and playing well, but not getting jobs. I do think Keith had a story that he said he watched Jose Iglesias take warm-ups. And Keith was saying that he loves it. It's something I would never expect him to love. But he said he loved that Iglesias doesn't just like fundamentally field ground balls. Like he runs around them, he picks at them, he scoops them, he grabs them on special hops and like tries to make crazy throws. Or like I could definitely understand from a front office or coaching perspective, maybe if you don't have a coach or a clubhouse or a locker room that can handle this, not to have the last guy in the roster bringing the most flair.
Gotcha. Yeah,
that's my point. That makes total sense to me. But again, fucking thrilled he's here because he changed his whole season.
No, he juiced this team up. This team, you know what he's got? You know he's got, James?
What?
He's got a little testosterone in him.
He does. And again, some teams might not need that. This team needed that, so it fit.
Shout out to my dad. Did you see the article from Will Salmon today about Nimmo and Lindor? Let me pull it up real quick on my phone. Really cool stuff just about like team building and where this team's head's at and how much I fucking love Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Lindor, the biggest snubs from the All-Star game. So, Will Salmon, Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo have been paying for Mets team dinners over the last few road trips. Wow. During their trip to Washington, which was later than expected due to a rain delay the previous afternoon, Nimmo rented out a conference room at their DC hotel and ordered food for everyone. Brandon Nimmo said, I was like, you know what? It would be good for us to just take them out to a big league dinner. All of us get together. It's on me or Francisco. Francisco and I, as leaders, just getting the guys together more and worrying about the other guys a little bit more. Don't get me wrong. I still have to take care of what I'm doing, but I've had a lot of time here now, so it's trying to pass that on to the next guys and help in any way that you can. The Mets team dinners have been 100% attendance as well.
Wow. That's amazing. 100% attendance.
That's awesome. So
it's
like
amazing.
We talked about this, and this was something that I even mentioned when I was bringing up the Mookie Betts podcast every single episode, that Nimmo spoke about how they have different leaders on this team, but it might not be easy to see that. Brandon's like, I'm a little bit quieter. I'm still kind of figuring out how to be taking that leadership role. And he even talked about, like, after the game, he was very candid about why they're losing games and how they need to be better, which I thought was really cool. And he said
Yeah.
Francisco Lindor leads by example. Like, you watch him, he's got a great attitude every single day. He comes ready to the ballpark no matter what the situation is, and he wants to play and play hard. So it's cool to now see that those two guys who are going to be here for a very long time, till the end of their careers, most likely, are like, this is our team now. We're taking control. This is what we want to do. This is how we help.
And playing incredibly good baseball in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, being fucking monsters at the top of the batting order. It is amazing to see that. And just the way their seasons have ticked up, the way that they have both just kind of taken over this baseball team since they became the 1-2 guys in this lineup. The way that, again, like on Sunday, it was Lindor got the big hit after Nimmo got the big hit. And then Monday, briefly, Nimmo got the big hit again. Massive home run off of Mitch Keller. The only time we did anything against him in this game. So it's amazing to see that stuff. And I don't know. I think we broke down a lot of baseball from the series.
Yeah, let's talk about... Oh.
Wait, no, one other thing amazing.
What?
If people weren't watching the series intently, maybe in a holiday weekend, 4th of July, I get it.
Yep.
Pittsburgh, every single year, around this time of year, is famous for something very strange. They always have...
If you're not into it.
I think even if you're into it, people will be like, yeah, we know it's a
all right. I just didn't want to be mean to anybody.
No, I don't want to be mean either. But any hobby where you're wearing a mask, that's part of the game.
When you're having sex as animals, yeah.
Pittsburgh is famous for the National Furry Convention. It happens, I think, every single year. Andrew McCutcheon, Foolish Baseball have really popularized it recently. And SNY and Gary and Keith did such a good fucking job with this series of highlighting the chaos going around Pittsburgh. There was a shot. I love John DeMarisco. He's active on Twitter. SNY does just amazing broadcasting stuff. There was an all-ferry cruise that was going down the Allegheny during the game on Friday, and the SNY cameras caught the tail end of it, and all you see is like a lion and a goat and like all these animals like dancing on a boat. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? They kept finding them in the crowd. Gary and Keith did not stop talking about any chance they could get. It was so perfect. The Mets have to play this series in Pittsburgh every 4th of July, so we can get Gary and Keith in the SNY broadcast highlighting the furries.
I'd love to see us sit down with Keith and a furry and just let him ask questions, see what he's got, see what's on his mind.
No, and again, we're no kink shaming here. If you're into anything, you got to do it. But it's so funny that this can, for some, always coincide with baseball. And like we had Tim Healy was tweeting about. He said, I just rode the elevator with a raccoon like in my hotel. So it's just like it's funny as hell that this can like these weird intersections of like culture that most baseball fans will never experience or see or understand in their lives. And like that, but like some will. Some come to the ballparks. I saw the great furry couple wearing Mets stuff like at the game. That's great. That's made on Sunday. I was like, this is nice, but such a beautiful thing that we were able to get that this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean that's just the perfect way to segue into how good Brandon Nimmo is, because we know he definitely would have some questions about what's going on over there.
I would almost listen to like a 45-minute interview of Brandon Nimmo with a furry more than Keith.
Yeah, but he'd be so sweet and so nice.
Like, that's what I'm saying. He'd be nice about it. You'd be asking him questions about the life. He'd be like, so tell me about this.
Like Keith's head would go fucked up. Like we know he'd ask some crazy shit. Like Brandon would just be like, wow, so like you really find fulfillment in this, huh? Like
he's like, I like your mane. It's really nice. Yeah, he's like, I got some good conditioner for you. I used to use for my horses, but yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think
All-Star Game snubs.
Wait, no, first I got a media marvel.
Oh, give me a media marvel.
All right, so Ian Rappaport, if you guys like football, you know him as
guy.
as the key NFL newsbreaker. He tweeted on July 8th. It's Monday, July 8th, 9:35 in the morning. He quote tweeted Francisco Lindor's game-winning single. And he said, how was Lindor not an all-star?
Hell yeah, Ian Rappaport. Let's go.
I can't even imagine the last time he didn't tweet about football. I'm scrolling his timeline right now.
Dude, you know what's crazy?
Football.
It's his best performing tweet in a long time. Since like the horrific news that happened with the Minnesota Vikings this past weekend. Otherwise, like impressions-wise, the Lindor tweet is just crushing.
I'm 12 days back, and every single tweet is about football. I don't even know how far we'd have to go back to find something. Oh, here it is, June 20th. The Ben Porter tweet that went super viral about Reggie Jackson giving a speech at the Negro League game. Ian Rappaport said, "This is powerful."
Wow.
So that's it. So that was the last one. So June 20th was the last time Ian Rappaport did not tweet about football, and he tweeted about Francisco Lindor being snubbed from the All-Star.
All right,
game.
so let's give the stats, James. Let's give the stats. You take Francisco Lindor. I'm going to take Brandon Nimmo.
I mean, we could just go stat for stat. See how deep we can get here.
All right, get started.
All right. Where's my favorite Nimmo one? Let's see. I want Lindor. I'm gonna do a Lindor one.
So Lindor. I'm gonna take Nimmo next.
Of the top 15 players in baseball season in Fangraphs WAR, only one of them didn't make the All-Star team. That person is Francisco Lindor.
Ooh, okay, that's a good one. That's a good
That's a
one.
good one.
The Brandon Nimmo one I'll give you is there is only one National League outfielder with a higher F4 than Brandon Nimmo this year, and
Mhm.
that's Jurickson Profar. He is number 2 in the National League, number 7 in all of baseball, behind
Nice.
Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Stephen Kwan, who are the starters for the American League, Jaron Duran, who also made the All-Star team, and Willie Castro, who, I mean,
Eh.
he might have some beef, but who cares about him? He's playing like 7 different positions right now. He's played shortstop this year, so that also builds into it.
Yes. Okay, I have another one about Francisco Lindor here. Uh, Only 15 times in the history of Major League Baseball did a player ever have 15 homers, 25 doubles, and 15 stolen bases before the All-Star break. 15 times in Major League history.
Wow.
One of them wasn't named an All-Star. Do you know who it was?
Francisco Lindor.
Francisco Lindor, only
Nice.
player in Major League history to have 15 homers, 25 doubles, and 15 steals before the All-Star break and not make it. And that's not even position. Those 15 other players, I don't know how good a fucking defense they were playing, but it's not as good as fucking Francisco Lindor this year.
Brandon Nimmo is 8th currently in Major League Baseball in WRC+, only behind Fernando Tatis Jr., who he technically is tied with. He's ahead of Brian Reynolds, who was announced on the All-Star team. He's ahead of Jackson Merrill, who was announced on the All-Star team. He's ahead of Teoscar Hernandez, who made the All-Star team. It's actually pretty shocking. The only other National League guy besides Tatis who's ahead of him, Jurickson Profar.
All right, I have another good one here. So the last time Francisco Lindor made an All-Star team was 2019. Since 2019, Francisco Lindor has the 7th most F4 in all of baseball. Ooh. The only guys that are behind him, ahead of him, are Aaron Judge, Freddie Freeman, Juan Soto, Mookie Betts, Jose Ramirez, Trey Turner. Every single one of those guys, all 6 of them, has multiple All-Star appearances. Francisco Lindor has 0, and that one I'll give accreditation to because he's my boss, DJ Short. That was DJ Short.
Okay, you're gonna go long seasons. I know this doesn't help with like being an All-Star this year, but how criminally underrated Brandon Nimmo is. He also has the 10th highest WRC plus in Major League Baseball among outfielders since 2010. And again, the names in front of him, pretty shocking. A lot of MVP awards here, a lot of best player in baseball talk. Aaron Judge, Jordan Alvarez, Juan Soto, Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Mookie Betts, Ronald Acuna Jr., Kyle Tucker, Fernando Tatis Jr., Sneak, and Brandon Nimmo there at number 10.
I have another Nimmo here, one for you.
Go for it.
He became a Major League regular in 2018, and even since he became a regular, he's still been back and forth with some injuries, so a lot of the full rate stats, Brandon Nimmo won't always be in the top of the boards. But since 2018, and this is all of baseball, every single player in the league, Brandon Nimmo has the 9th highest on-base percentage, the 17th highest WRC+, plus, and the 23rd most F4. And he has never made an All-Star team. We'll credit that one, too. That one was for Matt Eddy.
I got last one here for you. I'll take Francisco Lindor on this last one because I think you guys are understanding. They should be all-stars. Shout out at Diva72727. Alex over on Twitter. I don't know who this person is, but a banger of a tweet. Highest F4 by a non-all-star since 2020 in the first half. 2022, Francisco Lindor 3.3. 2024, Francisco Lindor 3.3. 2022, Tommy Edman snuck in there with a 3.1. And then the 4th highest ever was Francisco Lindor in what year, James? 2023, 2.9. So the 4 highest F4s in the last 4 years to not make the All-Star team. Francisco Lindor's 3 of them, and the other one is Tommy Edman, who hits, 3 home runs a year? Like, come on.
Oh, God. It's just ridiculous. And I understand that a lot of what happened was the constraints of every team getting one player. And the shortstop, the Nationals didn't have another guy on the team, so CJ Abrams. But also, I don't know.
Fuck that, too, because Luis Arias made it, and he made it as a first. He's only been playing first base, and he made it as a first baseman then to this All-Star game. There are 4 first basemen, or 5 maybe even first basemen on this roster, Pete Alonso being one of them. Sorry, Pete, don't belong to be there. I think he would tell you he's not having an All-Star season. Feels like they did that so they could force him into being into the home run derby, honestly.
Oh, I got the tinfoil hat on for this one.
Go.
Oh, this has Scott Boras' grubby little figures all over.
Yeah.
There's a weasel in the commissioner's office because I think Alonso was officially because the commissioner's office gets picks on players in the All-Star game. So I think he officially was a commissioner office pick, which I'm sure Scott Boras had.
Clay Holmes was the commissioner one in the American League, I think.
I think that's just good humor. I think that's comedy. Like I think that's funny. Yeah. I was with my crazy uncles this weekend, and after the Yankees blew that game on Friday. Shout out my Uncle Frankie because there's no fans like him left anymore. He said he would DFA Clay Holmes. Get him off the team. He said never want to see him pitch again. And I was with him on Sunday when the All-Star roster dropped. I was like, Frankie, you want to hear the American League All-Stars? He was like, yeah. And I started with Clay Holmes. I said, Clay Holmes. He said, shut up. No, you can't be serious. But it's ridiculous. I think, and again, like I understand the home run derby it kind of at this point is the premier event of All-Star Weekend. It truly is. And Pete is a great showman and he's fantastic in the home run derby. He's the first player to ever be in the home run derby 5 straight times.
Yeah, it's about right.
And he's done now going to have the second most home run derby appearances ever. I think only behind Griffey, but I think it did 8.
Yeah,
like,
but that's Ken Griffey.
Again, exactly. So like someone had a tweet, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I think it's very funny, where they said Pete Alonso still going to the home run derby every year is like being 27 years old and hanging out around the high school.
Yeah, not the same. It's, you know what it's more like? It's more like being 27, 28 years old and still only hanging out with people you went to high school with. I think that's kind of what it's like.
Yeah, similar vibe. But just there could have easily been some manipulation around this roster to get either Lindor or Nimmo on this team.
Oh, yeah.
Nimmo especially having potentially his first All-Star appearance of the year, or Lindor especially because he's been one of the best players in the National League.
Literally.
The fan voting thing is also bullshit. Like Trey fucking Turner hasn't even played baseball this year.
Yeah.
It's fucking so stupid. Like they should not be allowed to vote a guy in who hasn't played just because their city is ravenous with pride.
Edmundo Sosa should have been on the ballot over Trey Turner. Maybe it's a little.
That's what I'm saying.
Should have been tinfoil hat. Major League Baseball wants to keep Francisco Lindor down.
And I'm just like, I understand. Like Ellie De La Cruz
deserves
absolutely a trillion. And you know what? He should have been the starter. Trey Turner shouldn't even be on this team. No. Just give him a couple fucking days off. Who cares? It should have been Ellie, Lindor, and then I guess the Abrams. Like that makes perfect fucking sense to me. But the fact that they manipulated this roster, Pete's on the team over so many other more deserving first basemen as well. Christian Walker is having a better season than Pete Alonso by every stretch of the word. It's not even close. Pete Alonso this year is 7th among National League players in WAR. And he's what, 4th, 3rd in home runs. Like that's not, Pete Alonso isn't really having that good of a year. He's playing fine. Like it's so stupid. It's so annoying they did this just for the home run derby. And it's like, I'm sure there's even like a bit of an awkwardness for Pete. Like I know they all said the right thing after the game. Like Pete deserves it. He's having a great year. He's like one of the most important players. But if you objectively ask a Met fan, I think they would tell you that Pete's been like the 5th or 6th most important position player in this team this year.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, and that's just also like the bigger conversation about Pete Alonso too, that we're having at the end of the year is like, should we be paying a first baseman as much money as Scott Boras wants us to pay him? That's the conversation. Yeah. We'll talk about that more later.
No, totally. But also, again, I was just talking about WAR in National League. You know where Luis Arias ranks for WAR in the National League?
Oh, I know he is the 13th ranked second baseman in the National League in terms of F4 because I am a prime Luis Arias hater. Where does he rank?
First baseman, 10th.
Nice.
And that's tied with Jeimer Candelario, and it's 0.1 WAR ahead of Connor Joe, who has had 108 fewer plate appearances than Luis Arias.
That's pretty good. I mean, he's got the most hits in baseball, James. Come on, dude. That's the only thing that matters is singles.
So you want to focus on hitting?
Yeah.
Let's focus on hitting?
Yeah.
Okay. Like a good hitting stat. I like WRC+. Because it kind of puts
I've heard of this.
Yeah, everything that like you do in your season. And he is, in terms of first baseman in National League, he's the 8th most WRC+.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's you put 8 first baseman on the All-Star team.
I'm saying, I mean, they almost did. They tried to. It's just fucking like, how many Padres do we need in this fucking team? They're not even having that good.
They're a wild card team.
Nimmo's having such a good year. Nimmo deserves a fucking All-Star. He's never made an All-Star team.
I mean, you know what? When Luis Arias gets in at bat against Mason Miller, it's going to be electric to see him just bloop a single over the shortstop's head. I mean, I won't forget it.
It's Tony Gwynn reincarnate.
Yeah, that's a matchup I'll be telling my children about. I'll remember when Luis Arias faced Mason Miller.
Like I always tell myself I'm not going to get worked up about shit like this.
But you always
then
do.
Like, and then injustice happens to the players I like, and I get fucking mad. I get pissed. Like I was okay when it came out.
I couldn't believe it made it.
I couldn't believe it. I
was not surprised Lindor just because it's happened 3 times now to him as a Met. Like I was fully expecting he wasn't going to make it just because fuck you, Francisco Lindor. Apparently, when Brandon Nimmo did not make it, I was in Discord with my friends. I was like, no, Nimmo. It's like, where is he? Where'd he go?
It took a while for him to even announce the reserves in the National League. So I actually saw the Tim Healy tweet first before anything came out that the Mets confirmed it. I was just, it's all about the bullshit with the home run derby. That really is. Like, it's nice to have Pete in the home run derby. Like, it's a fun thing. But like this 5th straight time, like if he was defending like a 4-time champion, I'd be like, yeah, you gotta keep going. But now, and like in the beginning of his career, I also would have said it because I'm like $1 million.
Yeah, that's also like building your brand.
Totally. But the brand's been built. He's already making tons in arbitration. The payday's coming. Like he does a lot for charity now, which again, it's a great thing. Yes. I'm genuinely excited to watch Pete Alonso in the home run derby. Like it will be a great event, as it always is. But for this to be the reason he's in the All-Star game is laughable.
Feels like that's why he got in.
why do you have to be in the All-Star game to be in the home run
You do
derby? Is that
not.
the
You
rule?
don't have
So
to
then
be.
why? Like, I want O'Neal Cruz in this
Because
home run derby. Like, I
now
want more guys.
he's in Texas. You might as well be in the home run derby, and I don't have to
Guys.
get you to go to Texas for one day to go home. Like that's a much harder sell.
Yeah, I guess. Also, I got Twitter open right now. Zach Eady just posterized your boy Walker Kessler
Well,
in a
Walker
summer
Kessler's
league.
been traded. He's not my boy
Oh,
anymore.
you traded him.
Yeah, he's
Damn, I
gone.
forgot you traded him.
Walker Kessler, until he becomes a Nick, couldn't care less. Also, what the fuck is Walker Kessler doing playing in the summer league? He's just a starter.
I don't know.
That's
well, no,
insane.
last year, not really anymore. Yeah, no more basketball talk. But again, I told myself I wouldn't get mad about this. I got super mad about it. I got so mad. It was more about Nimmo because again, this keeps happening to Lindor, and I think that he doesn't give a shit. Like, also,
No,
I'm sure a guy like
definitely doesn't give a
Lindor is
shit.
like, give me 4 days with the fam, he'll be awesome.
Yeah, love to
Probably
spend
gonna
time with his daughters.
Puerto Rico or like Antigua or something. Probably have a great make a week out of it. But Nimmo
Like
fucking
Katia?
deserves it, man. He's never made the All-Star game. It's bullshit. He's one of the best outfielders in baseball. They won't let him in.
Oh, all you have to do is tweet that Brandon Nimmo is one of the most underrated players in baseball, and that's the litmus test of if you know ball or not. People answering, "No, he's not Mets bias." I'm like, you actually are fucking stupid. Congratulations, you outed yourself.
I got so pissed about that. I don't know if we can talk about this anymore. Do you have any other snubs? I know you did the video today on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean there was a couple snubs, not necessarily from the Mets. Some of the guys I mentioned, like I thought Jake Irvin had beef with maybe not making the All-Star team.
But
He's
that was
been
also
really
my
good.
thought with both him and Mackenzie Gore with the CJ Abrams thing.
Yeah.
Again, it's like it becomes politics where like CJ Abrams is significantly more exciting than Jake Irvin. Not even close.
I took a more fun approach to the snubs this year. I wasn't given the biggest of names. Like obviously I put Nimmo and Lindor in there, but I went Anthony Santander because he just went off. He has 22 home runs.
Insane.
I think he should make it.
Christian Walker.
Christian Walker was on there. Josh Smith. I can't believe Marcus Semien
Yeah.
made the All-Star team with a 680 OPS, which is just criminal.
You want to know this about Marcus Semien? Over his last 20 games, he's hitting 100. That's exactly
He's hitting 100
over 20 games now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been quite
Wow.
bad. So
Yeah.
this is the thing we always tell people about beginning of the season, middle of the season, end of the season, where if Marcus Semien started the season like that, 0% chance he's an All-Star.
Yeah.
But he hit that cold streak after a good month. It's just it's so I hate
here's the other
ones
ones.
sometimes.
Jack Flaherty. I thought Jack Flaherty had some beef. He's got the second highest K per walk in all of Major League
He might be
Baseball.
the best pitcher in the AL. Yeah.
Cade Smith from the Guardians, I thought had
Amazing.
beef. If they're going to put on all these other random mid relievers, I think Cade Smith should be on there. He's been incredible. I said McGill. Jordan Westberg might have been the most robbed guy in the American League, considering that Marcus Semien made it over him. And Bryce Terang. Bryce Terang deserved to make the All-Star team this year. He is just a better player than Luis Ariz at every aspect except getting singles.
Yeah, I mean, he does get a lot of singles too. But
yes, but he's just not better than him at it.
No, the Ariz thing is super annoying. It's just, I don't know. It's just MLB makes these decisions, so I know they want to market. But I think some of the best way to market baseball, I think, is baseball.
Good baseball, yeah.
Yeah, not narratives and shitty discourse.
We'll say a lot of the other picks, awesome. I actually think the rest of the roster has been great. It's just the misses were egregious this year.
Yeah, and the Clay Holmes thing was fucking bizarre. After the blow save on Friday, that was just funny.
So weird. But
it was like,
all right, let's go ahead and do the Nationals preview here before we put a nice little bow on the end of this episode. I mean, we saw them recently. What are the pitching matchups? What are we getting? We're not going to go too deep into this one.
No, yeah, we literally just saw them, and you guys just saw how fucking annoying they can be. So it is not like I remember the Anthony DeComo tweet. We're not discounting the Nationals, like for some reason they just like to do. We did not do the Pirates because we split that fucking series. But pitching matchups going to this National Series, we have on Tuesday evening, Ace-Off, Jose Quintana versus Jake Irvin.
Ace-Off.
Wednesday evening, Luis Severino versus Patrick Corbin. That's just the battle of guys who the Yankee fans thought were going to be 1 and 2 forever there. And then Thursday afternoon, another Ace-Off. I think we're both going to be in the building for this one. David Peterson versus Mackenzie Gore, lefty specialty.
Oh, man, that really changes how I want to
go
to that game.
I want to watch Mackenzie Gore, truthfully. I really do.
Fair. I mean, I don't know if you comments on the last video. They were like, someone commented 0 to 13:29 Nationals podcast, 13:30 to the end Mets podcast.
We talked so much about the Nationals.
I mean, we were drunk, we were hammered, and we were like, this team's really good, guys. They got fun players. Like
they're fun. Like I really respect the way they built it, man. Like that was like you guys just listen to a drunk conversation, but you Mark. Like that happens every other week in a booth in Rockarola. But I don't know. This Nationals team is pesky. They're annoying. CJ Abrams is good. I think James Wood seems to be getting better every day. He had a bad play on Sunday. Did you see the pop-up he dropped? That led to
drop that. Yeah.
Yeah, he just let it fall right in front of him. DJ Hurst looked upset. And then DJ Hurst got sent down because of it. So James Wood might take money out of his teammate's pocket.
Juan Yepes, one of your boys, he's on the Nationals. Did you know that?
Yeah, they called him up last week. And I know he's going to have a big hit this series.
Oh, for sure. His dad loves me. I put him in my top 10 prospects at first base during like the lockout thing that was going on. And his dad replies, like, someone understands how good my son is. It's like, I fucking love that. Let's go.
But also, again, like facing two soft tossing lefties, like Yepes is going to be ready to kick this series.
Sure.
But happy we're getting the opportunity to face Patrick Corbin. I'd like to see that. I would like to do well against him. But otherwise, again, like we just saw how good Irvin and Mackenzie Gore can be. This Nationals bullpen, we got to them last series, but it was just Davey Martinez doesn't care about numbers or Excel, so he's going to ride these guys into the grave. That's what he likes to do. And I think they were off on Monday, so they're going to have a fully rested bullpen while we're still pretty beleaguered. So you're going to see Hunter Harvey, you're going to see Finnegan, you're going to see, what was that guy's name? Garcia? Jake Garcia?
Robert Garcia.
Robert Garcia. That was it. But solid baseball team. We just saw them. If you could sweep the series, you kind of put the Nationals in the dirt. If you could win 2 out of 3, you really distance yourself from them. You kind of push them out of the playoff race once and for all. But if they win 2 out of 3, like they're suddenly kind of back in. They kind of got confident walk again.
Definitely play some good baseball, and hopefully the Mets bring their A game. There's one more thing to talk about before we wrap up the podcast. Someone in the Mets world, the Mets official photographer Mark Lavine passed away suddenly this weekend. Me and James met him a couple times while we were working with the team. Super nice guy. He's worked for them for 35 years. He's taken any official Mets photo you've basically seen. Basically in your lifetime, most people. Mark Lavine was a big part of it. I think there was a great story where they're saying I think his first day ever was when Doc and Daryl had the fight during the team pictures.
Stop.
I think that was one of his first days ever working for the Mets, and he was either right involved in the fight and like right in the scrum, or he got the pictures of them just beating the shit out of each other. It's super sad. Passed away suddenly, and he really was a great guy.
Yeah, and it's just having a chance to like be in the team for a while and meet some of these people. Mark was always really kind and really gracious to us. It's people who were kind of like part-time in and out. Like he invited us to a big team dinner in spring training that sadly Mark and I, our dietary restrictions, we couldn't attend. It was a hard thing to explain, awkward, but I think everyone was fine about it. It's like one of those like really good people that like I think a lot of fans don't realize how much goes into like every organization, every single game day, every single thing that you see. It looks so easy, and Mark was a big part of internal things that happened with him. And just, I don't know, it's this is a funny one too from someone else we used to work with the Mets, Liz Flynn, who was one of Mark's photographers on the staff. She said on her first day, her first spring training, she had to her light exploded, and they helped her like take the pictures, like get new lights, so she didn't have to take all the pictures in the dark.
Wow.
So I think that was cool. And then even the spring training we were at, I remember Liz was in a boot, and Mark was like helping her like carrying stuff first. So it just seemed like not seemed like we knew him. He was a really nice guy. No one had a bad thing to say about him, and just sad thing when a member of the organization goes like that. And classy move by the Pirates to do an in memoriam moment of silence in a game. I think it was on Monday.
Yeah, no, very cool moment. Very classy by them. Rest in peace, Mark Lavine. And that is how we will wrap up this episode here, guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching.
Want to do reviews?
Yeah, we'll throw in a review. I'll do the outro thing, and you can look up the reviews while I'm doing that. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching the episode. If you want to hear your shout out, it's coming out soon here. But if not, follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel to see the video version of this. And if you are listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You got any of those reviews there?
We have like 4 or 5 new ones. That's hilarious. All right, I'll do 2 now. Maybe save 2 for the next one.
Okay, yeah.
But review from blah blah, great name. Required listening for Mets fans. As a Mets fan, Buckeye who lives in Charleston, this pod was clearly made for me. Love the in-depth analysis, pitching and prospect talk, and honest takes, good or bad. Traveling back and forth from New York for work during the summer, this pod's always my travel companion on all my flights. Keep up the great content. Hope to see you at the ballpark, Cole. Thanks, Cole. Shout out to you, Cole.
Appreciate you.
And then got one more here. Yeah, we got a bunch of new reviews. Shout out you guys for giving us the reviews. This one is one of my favorite ones.
Okay.
Love my boys Lavine and James. You haven't gone by Lavine in a while.
That's a long time.
Great and unbiased, unlike all the loudmouths in New York media. Sproko for Hall of Fame. Stearns and Mendy are the best. LFGM. That's from Jacko Attacko. Thank you, Jacko.
Thank you, Jacko. Appreciate you. All right, guys. That's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you after the National Series. Peace out.
Peace out. See you guys next time.